Indeed. And Phil Rucker, there's so many issues there with RFK Jr. Raw milk, for instance, there was an outbreak of a disease in California recently. You know, a lot of his food issues go against the agriculture states, the farm lobby. There are lots of cross currents, you know, as Ryan was just pointing out. I did sense, and you know far better than I, after writing 2 books of Donald Trump, he's trying to find a middle ground and avoid some of the harder edges of these controversies by saying that he's a big supporter of the Salk vaccine, but the more commonly used versions now, which are used around the world because they're more easily distributed, are some of the other forms, the oral vaccine, for instance.
Yeah, Andrea, I think that's right. You can see President-elect Trump in his public statements trying to carve out a much more, moderate, middle-of-the-road space on some of these controversies. But what's really going to matter is what the nominee himself, RFK Jr., says in these private sessions he's starting to have this week with key senators. And then more importantly, I think, what he says when he's pressed on these policy matters in the open hearing that would be public, on the record, and really the body of work that senators would then review as they decide whether to vote to confirm his nomination. So, you know, it's one thing for the president-elect to say something at a news conference about what he thinks of a policy. It's another matter to have this incoming, potential incoming secretary of this huge, sprawling and powerful government agency lay out his own firm views. And senators are going to be voting on the nominee's views as opposed to Trump's views.
And Health and Human Services is, I think, second only to the Pentagon in the size and the scale of its spending. It's Medicare, it's Social Security. It covers just about every aspect of health. CDC, of course, FDA, FDA, and I guess that's under agriculture most likely, but food safety is under RFK Jr. So there is so much on that. Susan Page, what else did you pick up? There's certainly a lot of foreign policy, the defense, the support for Hegseth. He, with both Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard at the Army-Navy game, that was a strong show of support. I didn't hear him being asked about Tulsi Gabbard, but there's a lot of conversation within the intelligence communities and the agencies. I've also, by the way, heard a lot of people resigning. I've been speaking to foreign policy professionals, and you were hearing from the intelligence agencies to the FDA, a lot of senior officials submitting their resignations in anticipation of the trend that they're seeing in some of these choices. And that is going to cause a severe brain drain. Of course, MAGA supporters would say that's eliminating the so-called deep state. Susan?
You know, Andrea, to call this news conference wide-ranging does not do it justice. He was entertaining questions on all sorts of the most controversial issues that he'll face with his inauguration and making news on a lot of fronts. He said, yes, maybe he can still get a deal between Ukraine and Russia before he takes office. He issued another threat trying to force the release of hostages in Israel. He talked about North Korea and China, and he endorsed tariffs. And he also talked about his intention to go after the news media. He had a big victory against ABC in his suit against them for how he was characterized on This Week. He said that he's going to go after 60 Minutes and the Des Moines Register for its poll. Not clear exactly why there'd be actionable action to take against the reporting of a poll, but he is feeling in a great mood. He's feeling expansive. He's feeling confident, and he's noting how different this reception is from the one he got 8 years ago, including from all these business leaders who are now knocking on his doors. This was really an extraordinary news conference, Andrea.